Hello all, it's Mr. Creeper from next door again, coming at you with another episode of a place we visited once and took pictures of. It's a working title. Whitby is a seaside town on the east coast of England in the Yorkshire Moors National Park. Famous for its fish and chip shops, Dracula, and more importantly, it's the goth capital of the world. You can take some cool pictures of boats too, I suppose. Along the water you'll find people throwing balls of meat into the depths, then reeling them back in once crabs have grabbed a hold, at which point these people eat them whole without chewing. I really like this image, or at least I would if it wasn't terrible. The crab gobblers lining the bottom of the frame ruin the leading line of the water's edge. It would have been a slightly above average image if it wasn't for that. I tried to lean into it more here with a vertical shot, but I don't think cutting the boat out of an image of a dockyard is the best way to show where you are. In the town itself, we decided to partake in our favourite pastime of goth spotting. For some reason, probably because of the Dracula connection, Whitby seems to have become a place where you can dress up in goth clothes as an adult without being ridiculed. It's kinda like Neverland, but for the children of darkness. This sport is like catching Pokemon and street photography all rolled into one. You have to get your shot without being noticed, or you might get kicked in the shins by a pair of Doc Martens. Singing the poker rap to myself did nearly get me caught on several occasions. Anyway, proceeding through the town we stumble across this alleyway with a guy standing alone right at the end of it. It was framed absolutely perfectly. This might be one of my favourite shots of the day, but I actually prefer it in black and white, which I was able to create using the RAW file with Fuji X-RAW Studio. Don't forget to always shoot RAW, my little warriors of darkness. These shots aren't exactly inspiring, so I gave up on the location pretty quickly. But we do return here later and I actually get some shots I'm pretty happy with. One of the funny things about looking back on footage after the fact is that you see things you didn't notice the first time around. Such as this girl wearing a D&D shirt from the hit TV series Stranger Things. I would have fist bumped her right there and then if I'd noticed. After wading through hordes of holidaymakers, we decided to take a detour to the Piers and try to get some more shots of the boats. Here I had to attach the 70-300 to have any chance of reaching a decent shot. This is one of those lenses I don't use very often, but I'm always glad to have it with me when I do. So while I'm dragging it around for no reason most of the time, just like I do with Helen, it's not something that I ever want to leave behind. Unlike Helen. I wasn't particularly happy about my positioning here, being above the town and looking down on it. This last image is one that I'm happy with though. Although I do wish I'd focused on the background instead of the foreground. I could always have done both and made a decision after the fact. Upon descending down to the foot of the pier, we saw this awesome looking craggy stretch of beach. The footage doesn't really do it justice here, but don't worry, my photography won't either. I'm still fighting the urge to buy a GFX 50R to use as a digital X-Pan, and I've instead had to settle for emulating the shots on my XT4 by cropping in post. These X-Pan style shots are the types of images we can hope to expect if I actually cave in and just buy one of the damn things eventually. I could always sell one of my kidneys to cover the cost, I suppose. There's an old lighthouse at the end of both piers, each guiding the boats into the harbour. Does anyone else have an obsession with getting no one in an image when you're out in public in a busy area like this? I waited 4 hours to get this shot. Sprinting down the boardwalk, I managed to pull Helen away just before she coughed one up right on top of these innocent people's heads. Honestly, she's a bit of a psycho sometimes. I think this image is pretty cool. It has a bit of a Norwegian, Icelandic style to it. simply because of the red structure within what would otherwise be a dull image. I wish I'd spotted that boat though. I could have waited for it to move on, or had it positioned perfectly between the railings. Underneath said structure is a set of ladders where you can gracefully climb down for a whole different perspective. Of course, Helen had me go down first so she could partake in her favourite pastime of looking down on me from a great height. Like I just said, this position gives you a whole new perspective, because you're about 15 feet underneath where you just walked from. It's cool being able to frame your subjects between these wooden posts. And I actually took my own advice here from before, and focused one shot on the foreground and one on the background. Not sure which I like best here though. While we were down there, a real-life pirate ship even rolled by, with real-life hostages on board screaming for help. I didn't want to destroy my camera, so I didn't jump in to help them, but hopefully they're doing okay. I've been switching between the 16-55 and the 70-300 here, and the latter allowed me to get this shot of a guy fishing over on the other pier. His clothing isn't exactly romantic for a gloomy black and white seaside shot, but it's what the artsy crowd would refer to as honest. When heading back, this dog clearly thought Helen was related because of the stench coming from her arse, but when seeing her face soon realised that something that ugly couldn't possibly be related to it. On our way up to the Abbey, I decided to try that previous spot again, thinking that I might have more luck with the 70-300 still equipped. I'm glad I did, because there was a point of interest in time with this old guy sat on his balcony. In one of the shots, he doesn't look too happy that a huge group of humans are in his general vicinity, something he and I both have in common. After wading through the throngs of bodies and constantly regretting visiting during the summer holidays, we managed to escape up an incline towards Whitby Abbey. If there's one thing I know about the general public, it's that they'll avoid walking uphill. We actually didn't reach the Abbey in time because we spent so long messing about round the harbour, and you do have to pay an entrance fee to get in. So this is just something for us to do next time, I suppose. You can still walk around the vicinity and make loose connections to graveyards and Halloween, with this video releasing in October and all. I like the composition of this image with the focus being right at the foreground. Maybe should have got a little bit lower, but I'm leaning over a wall here and trying to dodge stinging nettles. If I bothered with post-processing, I'd probably dip the shadows around the Abbey on this one. Anyway, there you have it, another video in the bag for all 20 of you to watch, although I do appreciate those very few of you that are right here at the beginning. Do me a favour and tell your friends, will you?